entire book on COVID. Big stuff today.
Oh, I saw that. Probably feeling they don't even come in smaller sizes. They just make this. That's what I'm working on. All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order. The time is 7:31. This is the regular City Council meeting of August 9th. Clerk, could you please take a roll call?
Councilman Bliss?
I'm here.
Councilman Clark?
Here.
Councilman Corbett?
Present.
Councilman Gettings?
Here.
Councilor Rohrbach? Here. Mayor Pro Tem Soltis?
Here.
Mayor Greifstein?
I'm here, thank you. The invocation and the pledge this evening will be led by Councilman Bliss. Mr. Bliss? Oh, and we are adopting our pre-Zoom. Everyone can stand if you're able. Thank you.
We all got to get used to standing, right? All right. Dear wise and loving Heavenly Father, let me first thank you in advance for the thoughts, comments, and concerns from all of those who are with us in person here tonight, as well as everyone who is watching this meeting at home. Thank you for the blessing of community, the volunteers that help create it, and the support of the city that helps sustain it. And I pray that you guide our council in the matters at hand, and I ask that you'd help us to work together and to encourage each other to excellence as we all focus on the goal of making this community even more prosperous with each and every passing day. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. First up, we have approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or deletions for the agenda this evening? All right. I would like to know if someone could please add to the agenda for this evening a social media code of ethics.
Your Honor,
Mr. Bliss?
is that to debate whether or not we should have one, based on the legal opinion that we all received?
It could be to debate it, or I was thinking that we could go back to something that we received, that we actually already have one. But either way, if you would like to make a motion.
I'll make the motion to add it. I would imagine it'd be under reports D2. Add the discussion of the creation of, or the approval of moving forward with a social media policy. How about that? That way, because we don't have any language in front of us, right?
Okay. Thank you. Is there any support?
Your Honor,
Mr. Soltis?
support.
All right, thank you. Motion has been made and seconded to add this to the agenda. Is there any discussion?
Your Honor, just a
Mr. Corbett?
question. I'm still not clear what this is. I mean, I recall the legal opinion, I recall that. But I don't recall being asked to do anything immediately on it, and that was 4 days ago.
Okay. So it was a confidential legal opinion.
Yeah.
So the contents are confidential, but based on reading that, I feel that it is our duty to act on it.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a substitute motion to make that confidential legal opinion open to the public, similar to how we did with.
Okay. So we now have a substitute motion to make.
Your Honor, just as a point of order, maybe we can ask the city attorney. My motion is a affirmative to discuss yes or no to move forward with the social media code of ethics. I think that's a separate motion because it's a completely different topic.
Mr.
I
Sherman?
could be wrong.
We can probably put down two motions. We can probably do
Well,
two
no,
motions.
So I would like to make the substitute motion if it's possible to do that now. If it's not part of, like, legally what we should be doing, then that's fine, we won't do it. But if
Okay.
we can do that now, I would like to do that now.
Okay, I don't
Your Honor?
believe that that's actually a substitute, Mr. Sherman.
Councilman Bliss's motion is procedural in nature to add it to the agenda, and if passed, it would open discussion on what to do, direct staff to do something, to present something to council. And at that point, if the motion passes to add it to the agenda, a motion along the lines of waiving privilege in order to release the contents of our opinion would be up to council separately. It's a separate item.
Okay.
Council's already heard the city attorney's office position relating to waiving privilege to issue legal opinions, because this opinion was just issued last week. I would like council to have the opportunity to review it and make sure they understand it. Any questions they might have can be asked privately of our office, but I'm leaving that to council.
Okay, so.
That's more of a substantive issue to be dealt with once the procedural motion is acted upon.
Okay, so right now, what we
Well,
have.
I still, Your Honor, with respect, ma'am, I believe I still have the floor. I don't recall yielding that to anybody.
Oh, God.
And I come back to the question I started with a minute ago. Well, what exactly is this again? I mean, you want a motion to put this on the agenda to do what exactly? I mean, I've read the opinion. I'm not prepared to do anything with it right now, but that's a separate matter, I guess.
Okay, so based on my interpretation of the legal opinion, we as representatives of the city have a duty to act. We were given the information 4 days ago, and I don't think that we should be waiting any longer. We've all had a chance to read it. I think we need to go forward and do something. And I'm being very cagey with what I'm saying just to the general public because it is confidential. So I can't say because it says such and such, because I'm legally not allowed to. Okay, now, to that point, Councilwoman Clark would like to make the legal opinion public so that we can discuss what it is. I believe that is what she wants to do, but that is a separate, I don't even know if that's a motion. I think that that would be something about that we add this to the agenda, and then during the discussion,
Well,
you could make that a
Right,
motion.
so I guess if we were going to be discussing taking action on the legal opinion this evening, making a motion for that, then I would like to make that legal opinion public.
Okay, so I don't think this is the time to do that. I think that we would do that later. Is that
The
correct?
the attorney could confirm, because I
Sure.
didn't understand the language that he was saying.
Mr. Bliss's motion, which was supported by Mayor Pro Tem Soltis, is strictly procedural in nature to add an agenda item that's not presently on the agenda. That's procedural.
Okay.
Yes.
The motion that Councilwoman Clark made, to me, is substantive, that would be taken up separately if it were added to the agenda, or at some later date to waive privilege in order to discuss the contents of the legal opinion publicly. And as I mentioned, it's only happened once before in our tenure, which was about a year or so ago, where council waived privilege concerning a legal opinion. Council can certainly do that. It's up to council. I've cautioned council on waiving privilege because it has a chilling effect on interactions between our office and council in terms of calling it the way we see it and reporting to council on all legal issues of concern.
Your Honor,
Mr. Bliss?
I just want to clarify, the request you asked was to add to the agenda whether or not to move forward with a social media policy. And that was my motion, it would be adding to the agenda effectively an up or down vote on do we need a social media policy, yes or no. The discussion, in my opinion, the discussion on what's in it, that would be for the attorneys to help us decide. The discussion on whether or not to make the legal opinion that we have to waive that privilege and put it to the public, we can have that discussion as well. But for what my motion was, is just yes or no, should we have a social media policy? and then we can define it from there. But that was, as I understood the request and as I'm clarifying the motion, it's simply yes or no, should we have one, and then we will develop it from there if there's a majority of council that wants one.
Well,
Your Honor? That's my understanding, too.
Thank you, Mr. Soltis. Mr. Corbett?
yeah, I'm just going to, not to belabor, I mean, we haven't even gotten off the first item on the agenda yet. I'm not going to belabor it. I'm just going to renew my concern that I'm getting more and more concerned about. We don't have anything in front of us to vote up or down on. You're basically looking to push us into a undefined discussion with no up or down. That's never a good idea. I've never seen it be a good idea, and it's only going to get worse if this nonsense keeps up. So go ahead and do it. I suppose you will. I just don't think this is a good idea. If somebody's got a proposal, fine, put it on the table, let the public see it, we'll vote on it yes or no. This is not a good idea. And I think you're going to be taking us into trouble if you continue to do this. So that's my opinion.
Okay, so this is to have the discussion about the creation of a social media code of ethics, or code of conduct.
Well, Your Honor, just as I understand it, it'll take a lot of staff and legal time to be able to develop it appropriately. So, my motion, and the only reason I'm willing to make it is this is the definitive, should we spend staff time and resources to develop it? Is that the will of council, or is the will of council not to have one? Up or down vote, yes or no, and then, staff can take the time that they need to be able to develop it appropriately, but without direction from council, either we're going to spend a lot of time developing a policy that'll never get passed, which I've seen in my tenure, or we won't develop it despite a majority of council maybe wanting it. So just an up or down vote, whether or not we should spend those resources. And it doesn't even have to be at a date certain that we would have it presented. It would just to be, should they spend that time to develop it?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bliss, for that clarification. Is there any more discussion? Clerk, anything? Okay. All right, then clerk, can you please take a vote to see if we should add this to the agenda to discuss the creation of the policy?
You want a roll call vote?
Sure.
Councilman Bliss?
Yes.
Councilman Clark?
No.
Councilman Corbett?
No?
Councilman Gettings?
No.
Councilman Rohrbach?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Soltis?
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
I vote yes, motion fails. Thank you, everyone. All right, any other additions or deletions to the agenda? No. All right, then we have presentations, public hearing, we have meeting open to the public. This is the opportunity for the public to address council. So we ask you to take 3 minutes, give a name or any kind of identifier, and let us know what's going on. Thank you.
Jennifer Zmarzlik, 649 East Harwood. Thank you, Mayor, for this opportunity to discuss what you just brought up. I see that things are happening. I'm quite pleased. I would rather we take the time and be very careful about what we do here. I know that is your absolute intention, and so I thank you for that. The subject of censorship is still on the table for me, as I have received no remedy from the council member directly involved. I am looking forward to meeting with city officials to discuss the topic and possibly use my personal experience to explain the micro and macro consequences of a sitting elected official blocking her constituents from city business. I once again request the Code of Ethics and/or Code of Conduct for this issue and other necessary subjects to help represent the voters and residents with protection mechanisms at the city charter level for immediate to long-term solutions regarding city business. On a better note, I want to thank Councilman Mark Bliss and his co-chair Vita Palazzolo of the Arts Board for a blissfully enjoyable experience at Trail Tunes. I got to speak with the band members, and they really enjoyed the format of this type of event. Bands are small businesses too, and we gave a stage to 19 bands this year in one day. And the food was top-notch, and the fun zone with performers was a beautifully added element to give a carnival atmosphere. I also want to thank the City Council for providing so many opportunities annually to the residents and others that visit to enjoy our city. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who has anything they want to say this evening? Just council? All right, we have one public comment, and then after this has been read, we are closing public comment. Thank you.
My name is Mary Bush, 1117 East Hudson. Dear city leaders, while this statement is not directly about city business, it is about how leadership sets the tone of community relations. One of the reasons I am taking a sabbatical from the city activism is, quote, mean girl, unquote, mean girl culture, which, to be honest, I've been part of. Fascism is a government system based on the idea that some people are better than others. Shunning is a means of social control that is to ignore, avoid, or reject someone and pretend they don't exist. Blocking on social media is a mild form of both of these. Controlling the flow of information is also a form of power. It moved me to hear Jennifer Z describe her experience of being excluded from information by being blocked on social media pages. She was brave enough to bring her concerns to a public forum. She is the canary in a coal mine, giving voice to many others not so brave. While people are well within their First Amendment rights to use social media as they see fit, it says something about character when the city leader weaponizes it. It is my hope that people who do this evolve to recognize that once entering the public domain as a city leader, the ability to tolerate differences of opinion without turning to retribution is important. Now I've got some amends to make. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So first up, we have communications reports, D1 from the DPS director, the fee schedule amendment, recycling bins.
On July the 25th, City Council approved the amendments to the fee schedule, which was also updated as part of the regular budget process in May. As part of that approved schedule, the recycling bins with the lids were listed at $14.50, covering our cost of $14.46, but not the taxes and the handling. However, last week we were notified that the cost for these bins has increased to $18.64. Therefore, staff and I recommend that City Council amend the current fee schedule to increase the price of recycling bins and lids from $14.50 to $20 to cover this increase and the sales tax liability that the city owns when selling a retail product. And just to clarify, these are the gray square tub type bins, not the big green ones everyone sees, which are more expensive than $20.
All right, thank you. What is the wish of council?
Your Honor.
Councilwoman Clark?
I would like to propose that we make an amendment to the fee schedule, increasing the price of the recycling bin lid from $14.50 to $20 to cover the cost increase and the sales tax liability that the city owes when selling this retail product.
Thank you. Is there support?
Your Honor, support?
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Your Honor?
Please.
Just a point of procedure, in as much as this is normally an amendment to the budget, I believe that's how we normally adopt it, correct?
It's just a fee, it's like a fee schedule in the back of the, we're not asking you to adopt a
I guess so.
amendment to the
So it
budget.
doesn't require a 5-vote majority then?
No.
Okay. Not that it's not going to fail to get that, but.
Never know. All right, any other discussion?
Your Honor.
Please.
I know these containers are awfully small, and in terms of recycling, it doesn't allow someone to do a lot of recycling because they're small. I lived in Ann Arbor for a couple of years, and their garbage bins and recycling bins were the same size, and they're like the size of the green ones that we have here in the city. Do we ever consider looking into providing larger receptacles so that we could increase the likelihood of recycling? I know that's also a cost thing, but where do we land on coming up with these teeny tiny little bins for recycling? And how many do families usually purchase to do that? And they don't have to have those to recycle, though, do they? They can recycle in anything?
No, they don't have to have those to recycle, but it's preferred that way the GFL contractors know that that's recycling and not trash because it's hard to identify. But they do still, residents have the option to buy the green, taller ones from GFL if those gray ones are too small.
For recycling as well?
Yeah.
Oh,
They can buy those for trash or recycling. I think the cost is $64 for the recycling for the big green one with the wheels.
okay. That's all I have. Thanks.
Your Honor?
Please.
So I generally support, I mean, just the cost increase is relevant enough for us to make the change. I do question long-term whether or not we need this size. You know, I agree with Councilwoman Clark. I personally bought like I think a 32-gallon one or something from Home Depot for probably $25. And so for the difference to have the branded Madison Heights one versus the blue larger one that I bought that's, labeled recycling on it, I just don't know if this warrants it as a long-term plan going forward. Does that limit somebody's recycling if they go and pick up this bin instead of another one? I understand where the bins came from, and the initial size when we first rolled out recycling into the community. And that was an appropriate size, I think, for back in that time. But with how many plastics are out now, I don't know. I think we do it, and I'll support doing it on the fee schedule, but I think long-term, we need to have a strategy to push people either to the larger ones that we already offer through GFL for, I think it was, we said like $69, $70 or something? 64, okay. Or they can go out and, buy a smaller one from Home Depot or Walmart or something, but it would still be larger than the small ones that we're offering that have the city branding on them. Just my 2 cents, Your Honor.
All right, thank
Rob?
you.
I got a couple cents to talk about. So GFL, they're the ones that are raising the price like $4 and some change, is that correct?
No, these are purchased through, this isn't through GFL, this is through our vendor. So the city actually purchases these, and then we sell them. We used to sell them at Finance, they sell them at the DPS. So this isn't GFL, this is a third party. I'm not sure the actual vendor's name, but we buy them, we've been buying them from them for years.
So did they give a reason why that they're raising it like $4 and some change?
They haven't increased their price in years, but I don't know other than that.
No?
No, they didn't give us a reason, just a cost hike for their cost and for the product.
Yeah, no, $4 and some change is not a big deal per person, but I mean, if how many residents buy it, then that's
We do still sell a significant amount of these. To leave the price the same way, we're going to lose like $728, so 4 into 700, we probably sell about 200, 150 to 200 a year still, I think.
okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion about the recycling bins? Okay, so I'll throw in my 2 cents. So I do remember years ago buying one after ours cracked, and it was like $10 or $12. So I think that going up $1 or $2 every year is reasonable. And we did finally bite the bullet last year, and we did get one of the bigger ones. But not everybody uses the big ones. A lot of my neighbors, a lot of people who live on their own, just a variety of different reasons, not everyone uses the big ones. So, if you want them, absolutely you can buy it. I think it's got a 10-year warranty on it, so you're looking at $6 a year cost kind of thing. But we still have our little one, and every so often we put too much into the big one and we use the little one, and they seem to take it all. So I'm fine with this change. And with that, clerk? Oh, did you have something? No, okay. Oh, do we need we're not even voting on it? Oh, awesome, even better. Yay, thank you for that report. All right. Next up is,
You have to vote.
nope, that's what I just,
You have to vote on the motion.
okay. Oh, right, I'm so sorry. I'm so used to doing the roll call, which we just did. All right. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All against, say no. Motion carries. Thank you. We did a roll call, and I got back into the rhythm of doing roll call for everything, so thank you. Woo. All right. Next up, we have bid awards purchases. Again, DPS Director. This is for the playground equipment at Edison Park, Civic Center Park, and Exchange Park. Mrs. Marsh?
Yeah, I think this is a pretty exciting agenda item. In fiscal year 2022, the budget includes the funding for the Civic Center Park Totscape and the carry-forward funding for the Edison Park Playscape. We also received MSHDA Neighborhood Stabilization Grant for a small play feature that's going to be installed at Exchange Park. We intended to take advantage of the potential discounts for multiple projects, so we bid all 3 of those projects together with a not-to-exceed price, so we really could see the creativity of the different vendors. Minimum standards were also included with level platforms, ground playing features, and a focus on ADA UA accessibility. The RFP reached 76 vendors, which included 24 that downloaded the documents. 5 proposals were received, and on August the 2nd, a special meeting of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board was held. While they didn't have enough people to have an actual quorum, the members did still want to hear the presentation, so they participated as just members of the public. There were no decisions made at that, but they did all give their opinions. All of the features presented are ADA accessible and meet the relevant ADA qualifications. However, it was the consensus that the larger structure at Edison would also be ramp accessible, as the price point allows for this type of amenity while also providing an exciting play opportunity for the fully abled. All of the companies expressed similar lead times for shipping and construction of their proposals, which continue to be extended due to the fallout of the COVID pandemic and subsequent supply shortages. Therefore, we're expecting an early November installation. Based on the review and discussion with the public, staff and I recommend that City Council award the bids for the playground equipment at Edison Park, Civic Center Park, and Exchange Park to Sinclair Recreation of Holland, Michigan, in a total project amount not to exceed $277,500. Funding is budgeted and available for these purchases.
All right, thank you. What is the wish of council?
Your Honor,
Councilor Rohrbach?
I move that we approve or award the bid for playground equipment at Edison Park, Civic Center Park, and Exchange Park to Sinclair Recreation in the total project amount not to exceed $277,500.
Thank you. Is there support?
Your Honor?
Councilor Corbett?
Support, ma'am.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Your Honor,
Please.
I talked to several members of the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, and they were very enthusiastic about the pieces that were suggested and presented. I'm thrilled to see that, you know, we're continuing with our focus on making sure as many of our parks as possible have ADA accessibility, and these in particular will be really beneficial to the community, especially Edison Park has been empty for years at this point, and I know the residents in that area miss it. They miss having an ability to send their kids and play in their own neighborhood. I want to note that Edison Park was removed, the structure was removed prior, like what was it, a year or two prior to being able to replace it, because it was a safety concern. It was dangerous. There was you know, choking hazards, there were cutting hazards, there are all kinds of things. So we appreciate the public's you know, patience in waiting for this new facility, this new park to arrive in their neighborhood, but I'm really looking forward to seeing it come into fruition.
Right, thank you. Are there any
Your
other comments, Mr. Corbett?
Oh, I'm sorry, did you want to say something, ma'am? Oh,
I thought I heard you.
Oh, okay, well, yes, I'd like to say something. I
Okay.
heard you say something, Your Honor.
I was saying Mr. Corbett.
Oh, okay. Well, I can understand. I wanted to just thank, you know, everybody on staff for their work on this. It has meant a lot. It seems like it was just yesterday, but it was actually almost 2 years ago that Mark Bliss and I were standing in the park trying to figure a good way to get a picture of me on a playscape, and it just wasn't going to work. So we just opted for a long-distance photo. But this site is, Edison in particular, is very important to the families. I probably have gotten more calls about that, like 5 to 1, about when that would be returning. And I know we're hoping to get it in this year, but don't bank on anything before next year, possibly, within the fiscal year. So within the next 7-8 months. But, and also too, I want to go back. Yes, it's ADA compliant, but it's something that was a priority to myself. But the whole committee and everybody within the administration, it's also available for ramps. So that additional layer of accessibility for children with special needs is available, and it means a great deal. It's a tremendous amount, I know, to the families that are involved in that, and so thank you very much to everybody involved.
All right, thank you. Is there any other discussion? Any other
Your Honor.
council? Mr. Bliss?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I first want to say that the fact that it was broken had nothing to do with Councilman Corbett being on the playscape. But the second thing I want to say...
I'm taking notes, just so you know.
Probably more importantly, is that we're getting back to the past. And it's a weird thing to say, right? Like, we're the city of progress and it's about moving forward, but sometimes you have to replace what was there in order to move forward. And so in these cases, these are playscapes that we're replacing, that were torn down. One of which, and we didn't talk about it, the Civic Center Park, the Totscape, that was torn down. I was probably in high school when that was torn down. And we haven't been able to replace that. We still have in what is now an aging playscape in the park, but this is great to be able to bring, as was seen at Trail Tunes. I mean, that entire park can be utilized by families, and now having that Totscape, I think, is going to be critically important. I've had young kids in the city pretty much my entire time on city council, and it's going to be really great for all of those families to be able to have this play structure as well. And I agree too on the Edison, being able to walk over to that play structure. That's something that our residents have been severely lacking. And so this is progress, but it's progress by going back to what we had and making sure that we're checking those boxes. And so I want to make sure that we continue to do that, put it back, but put it back better. And that's going to be important for us to do moving forward with all of our other aging infrastructure. Council sat for the public's, viewpoint. We sat through a presentation on all of the aging infrastructure in our park system. And a lot of what we have to decide over the coming years is what gets replaced, in what order, and where do we invest. And part of the investments have to come to things like the ADA compliancy and the ramps. That extra money is not just a luxury, but it's a necessity for us to put these play structures in place. But we also have to think even outside of the box, like what could go there similar to the fitness court. We didn't just replace it with a basketball court. We found a creative way to put something there, and I just want us to continue to do that moving forward. And I want to thank, as Councilman Corbett did, our staff, our Parks and Rec Board, and everybody who helped work on this to be able to put these back in what is a much better way than they were when they existed in the first place. That's it, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. Is there any other discussion? No. All right. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Against say no. Right, motion carries. Thank you. And then from the DPS director, again, we have park fencing projects. Mrs. Marsh, a report.
Yes, the budget includes funding to replace the Greenleaf Park ball field backstops and the 12 and Sherry 12-mile fence line. Both of these fence areas are in extremely poor condition and require replacement. Therefore, staff issued a request for proposals enhancing the existing conditions and combining these two projects for maximum financial savings. While the RFP reached 138 vendors, it was downloaded by 15, and we received 3 sealed bids. The enhancements included these replacements, including the additional sides to each ball field that protect the dugout area from foul balls at Greenleaf Park, and move the fence inward from the edge of the sidewalk at 12 and Sherry. Upon reviewing the proposals, Motor City Fence was the lowest responsible bidder, and their proposal met all qualifications and specifications as presented in the RFP. In addition, reference checks were highly favorable, and under their proposal, both projects are under budget. As is typical practice, the RFP also includes potential discounts for any work that could be performed in-house by the DPS. This associated work consists of removing and disposing of the existing fence by the DPS, which the DPS anticipates being able to handle with their expected workload in August. Staff and I recommend that City Council award the contract for park fencing projects to Motor City Fence for a total project amount not to exceed $42,444. Funding is budgeted and available for this project.
Thank you. What is the wish of council?
Your Honor,
Councilor Rohrbach?
I move that City Council awards the contract for park fencing projects, as stated before, to Motor City Fence for a total project cost not to exceed $42,444.
Thank you. Is there support?
Your Honor,
Councilwoman Clark?
I'll support.
Thank you. A motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Your Honor, the only thing I'm going to say is I'm really excited about the 12th Sherry. When I first came on, the Parks and Rec Board was one of my first meetings, and we talked about replacing that fence. And at the time, it was, we can't replace it right now because we don't have the money to do it, but we're just going to take it down. And as a person who lived nearby that park at the time with two twin 3-year-olds at the time, my heart sank. And so I was really glad to be able to speak up and say, no, we can't take this down until we can replace it. So I'm grateful that we are now able to replace it, because I know it looks like trash right now. So I'm really glad we can replace it. It's going to be beautiful, and we're going to keep our kids safe. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, council? All right, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. All right, motion carries. Thank you. And then last up from the DPS Director, the cold pour emulsion pavement repair. Marsh?
In addition to the normal road maintenance practices of hot patch, cold patch, and joint sealing, the City of Madison Heights has utilized the services of an outside contractor to provide an emulsion patch option to our most deteriorated roads. This method has primarily been used on the joint rot streets where normal patch has proven ineffective. Cimarron in Madison Heights has begun developing a cold pour rubber road patching compound in the past few years in partnership with the city. Cimarron used several of city roads and parking lots to perfect their mix and application with input from the Community Development Department and the DPS. This product has held up very well in such notable areas as Brush Street next to the library, Ajax Drive in front of DPS, and the rear parking lot of Fire Station 1. This product has also been used by the Michigan Department of Transportation on several highways and freeways. Considering our satisfaction with the project, an invitation to bid was prepared for cold pour emulsion pavement repair. The bid reached 456 vendors, 24 vendors downloaded, and only one bid, Cimarron of Madison Heights, was received. As a result, Cimarron can provide this road repair process on a commercial scale with some notable benefits of a cold pour product are the lack of excess gravel and stone, lack of odor, quick cure time, the ability to apply both to concrete and asphalt roads, and much less restriction on the kinds of weather that it can be used. Based on the proven effectiveness of this product and Cimarron's familiarity with the city, our needs, and staff, the staff and I recommend that council award the bid for cold pour emulsion pavement repair to Cimarron of Madison Heights for the unit prices specified. Funding is available and budgeted for this work.
Thank you. What is the wish of council?
Your Honor,
Ms. Bliss?
I'll try not to mess this up, but I move that we award the bid for cold pour emulsion pavement repair to Cimarron Inc. of Madison Heights for the unit prices that were specified.
All right, thank you. Is there support?
Your Honor,
Mr. Corbett?
better you than me. I support, Your Honor. To what he said.
Oh. All right, motion is made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Your Honor, just really quick for the public, I'm really excited because we're awarding this bid to a Madison Heights company, which is a really cool thing, and we don't get to do it very often. And so I just want to highlight, and I want to thank them for their bid and becoming the highest qualified bidder. I'm just really appreciative that we're able to award this business to a Madison Heights company. Really excited about that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And is there any other discussion? So on that note of it being a Madison Heights company, one of the gentlemen involved is very familiar with our roads, as he was our former DPS director, Joe Vitale. So he's not going to get lost anytime soon in this area. So yes, thank you for looking at this and for working with Madison Heights business. That's awesome. If there is no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against say no. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, that is it for our regular meeting, other than our minutes approval. Can I have a motion for council regarding the minutes?
Your Honor,
Mrs. Mayor,
Councilwoman Clark?
I move that we approve the council meeting minutes of July 26, 2021.
Thank you. Is there support?
Support, and have a comment if I could.
Thank you, Mr. Gettings. Is there discussion? Yep.
I think Jeff was here last time, and it states Larry was.
You are correct. I am going to make that correction.
couldn't
I will
hear-
make that correction. I was advised of that,
He's
and I
gonna
will make
change
that
it.
correction.
I advise her.
All right, so thank you. So that has already been taken into account, so we don't need to add that on. All right, thank you. Is there any other point of discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against say no. Motion carries. All right, thank you. I'm going to conclude with closing comments. Mr. Corbett.
Just an acknowledgement of all the hard work, again, beginning with Mr. Bliss and the committee that he works with on the trail tunes yesterday. It was a tremendous success. We drove by a couple times before we finally were able to get over here and walk around. It looked real good. The music was excellent. We a little limited in our scope and our ability to walk around the park, but we got to see some stuff, and it was terrific. So congratulations to everybody involved, and thank you to the hardworking members of the professional staff. That's it. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Bliss?
Yes, Your Honor. Yeah, I'm really proud of all of the amazing volunteers who help make Trail Tunes possible. First and foremost, my co-chair, Vita, but we had an entire team of people. And an event like that, you know, in some cities, you go to an event like that and, you know, it's put on, you know, directly, you know, from the city, or it's a third party that's renting the space and they're putting it on. What's cool about this event is it was put on by volunteers who live in the city, who wanted an event like that, and it was through blood, sweat, and probably tears that we got it off the ground. And it was, to me, such a cool thing to see, because it's kind of like I walked into, I indirectly quoted the White House, I think, in my last comments about the parks, Build Back Better, I think is the theme from the White House. This is kind of the same thing. You know, when I grew up here, there were 3 summer festivals, and budget cuts have kind of removed those. And so to see all of those kids in the family zone getting to make these memories in a summer festival that was put on with not one penny of city budget towards the Arts Board putting that on, like, how cool is that? You know, and a lot of work has to go into that, and so I'm thankful for all the work that was put in. I'm equally as thankful for all of our donors who helped make that possible, and all the bands and vendors and community groups and everybody that came out. It's way too many for me to name, but I hope that we get to continue to do festivals like this, and I hope that in the future we can start putting some city budget behind community events like this. Bringing the community together is worth every penny of what was put in. And I just want to say too, it wasn't very much money to put on Trail Tunes. I think it was, and I have to check, I have a spreadsheet, but I think it was like $5,000 all in to be able to put that festival on and provide that for all of our residents. It's not a lot of money. And so if we can continue to do low-cost festivals and allow them to build up, allow this type of programming to continue to get bigger and bigger every year. I believe the official staff estimate was, you know, greater than 1,000 people. It was more than double what we did the first year, and we're going to do that again. And the next year it'll be double that. And we're just going to keep organically being able to grow this thing if residents keep supporting it, and businesses keep supporting it, and volunteers keep putting their time and effort into it. But it would be great if moving forward we can start making sure that the city budget also has a little piece of that. And maybe it's staff time. I think it was the same thing with Juneteenth. I mean, we had to be able to afford through our donations to be able to cover some staffing, including the police, who were rocking out, and I'm super stoked that they got to enjoy the day while on duty, because there were some great bands, but also our DPS as well. And so if there's any way that we can factor that in, I'm just asking my peers throughout the budget process, small amounts of money that we can dedicate towards making sure that these festivals have a little bit of backing in the city budget, I think would go a long way. And I'd love to be able to see something set aside every year for the new festival idea that a board is going to come up with that we don't even know what it is yet, or a group of residents are going to want to throw on that we can back. So I just want to see us continue on that. I'm belaboring the point at this point, so I will just end with, let's do more festivals. The community loves it and they deserve it. My only other thing tonight is to congratulate our Director of Public Services, Corey Elmas. I found out before this meeting that he's here today with us, even though he just became a grandpa. So, congratulations. You are far too young to be a grandpa, so you need to have a nickname like G-Pa or something like that, where it sounds cooler. Just saying. That's it, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Kettings?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just wanted to say I think the Trail Tunes Committee did a great job, and hopefully they can continue. As Mark said, festivals are great. They've been well received since the 80s, and I hope we can keep funding and helping out. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sherman?
Well, congratulations to our DPS director. Grandparent Club is a good club to be part of, and I'm learning that firsthand. It's good work if you can get it when you volunteer to be the babysitter. Congrats to Mark Bliss and all those responsible for making Trail Tunes such a success. Some of the groups were outstanding. Gwyneth Hayes and group, the keynote trio, which played on the back steps of City Hall, were great. And for me personally, the most fun part was the kids comedian ventriloquist puppeteer, and his name was Richard Paul, and he had a great assistant in Melissa's husband. So when he retires, he's cut out for that job. Feel free to tell him.
He did start researching how to become a ventriloquist, and I told him no.
No.
And I want to thank Councilman Gettings for mentioning, correcting the minutes that Jeff Sherman was at the last meeting, because I am at this meeting because my brother Jeff and his wife Fanny are celebrating their 35th wedding anniversary tonight. So thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mrs. Marsh.
Just want to echo the comments of the other council members and Larry on Trail Tunes. It was a great event. And speaking of events, we have another one coming up this upcoming Friday. We're going to have our first movie in the park. Seating starts around 8 p.m., but the movie's going to start around dusk. I don't know which movie it is, though, because the residents were voting, and voting ended last night. But it's at Civic Center Park. It's Friday the 13th, so mark your calendars for another great family event.
Your Honor, the movie's not Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
It's not. They were going to go with that, but I said no.
I think it's going to be a little less scary. Clerk, anything from your office today?
Just that we are getting ready to do our appointments to the boards and commissions. So if anybody's interested in applying, there's a form online, or you can come in our office and fill out a form. If we could get those by the end of this week, so we could get on the agenda for the next meeting, that would be great. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Rohrbach?
All right, so we did a few things tonight having to do with DPS, so Mr. Almas, or Grandpa Almas, I'm not sure how you go. Thank you for being here tonight, I appreciate it. But I especially appreciate the work that DPS has been doing. You guys, I know over the last 10 years, you're working with a third of the staff, I don't know if that's their actual number, but a much reduced staff than what you had 10 years ago. And, but I always appreciate every time I sit down in a Parks and Rec Advisory Board meeting, the level of dedication that the DPS staff has. That many of them live here and take pride in their work and taking care of our facilities and our grounds. And particularly, I want to mention the refacing of the pavilions. DPS recently did repair and painting on many of our pavilions in our parks, and they look beautiful. I was recently at Monroe Park, and it's that pavilion, I was like, I love this. It's like magic here. So it was just really very nice work, and I just want to have you send my appreciation to your staff. I want to note that the City Beautification Awards are coming up. So if you know someone who has a beautiful yard that takes pride in their work, in their grounds, and their facilities, you can nominate them by sending an email to recreation@madison-heights.org by August 27th. So I encourage everybody to look at your neighbors, nominate yourself if you think you have an awesome yard. No, but nominate your neighbors, somebody with a beautiful yard. I'd love to see a ton of entries this year. I know a lot of people are doing a lot of work to make their neighborhoods better places, their yards better places. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. In addition, on our website now, there is a MadisonHeights.org forestry division portion of the website. And one of the things on there is a tree planting for your right-of-way. I'm not sure what I was going to call it, like a lottery, or not really a lottery, but it's a program where people, residents in the city, can go on there and they can fill out a form and request a tree. It's going to be a first-come, first-served basis, and they can get a tree planted in the right-of-way in front of their own homes by DPS, and you will be able to pick your tree. You get to pick. There's criteria, obviously, for what can be planted in those areas, and depending on if there's wires and things like that. But please, I really encourage everybody, if they, I see all the time on social media, oh, give me a tree, I want a tree. Well, this is your chance, come get your tree. So sign up for that. One thing I would note is that it's pretty hard to find that link to sign up for the tree. I would really love for it to be easier for people to find. As far as Trail Tunes, thank you so much to everybody who participated. I know that the Arts Board and the committee that put that together did so much work, and there was a ton of work that went beyond, like the Friends of the Library, they did a beautiful addition to it. The Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, they did carnival games. The Crime Commission was there with Harco, the K9. And so so many people came out and made it a really special event. And it wasn't special because Mark did it, even though Mark's special, but it was special because the community came together in this really, really beautiful way. And we can do that. We can replicate it. We can make this wonderful. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who participated and contributed. And finally, I just want to say this. There is a lot of, we hear in council a lot of times we will come up here and talk about things that are happening on Facebook. And, here at the council table, we can't control how people behave on Facebook. But I would just like to encourage everyone to remember that we are all citizens, we are all members of this community, and we all deserve respect and kindness. There is a challenge when we disagree with someone in matters of governance or whatever it is. There's a tendency for people to attack, and to go after or to villainize people. And I really want to encourage our residents and anybody who's participating in that to step away from that. Let's not villainize each other. Let's embrace each other. Let's look at each other as the human beings that we are and give each other kindness and grace. And because, everybody here, we are all people. We're all just doing the best we can. We're trying to be our best selves and our best representatives for this community. And we need to support one another. When somebody is being threatened or things are being said or things are being done, please, if you see it, say something. Speak up for each other. Let's not let each other be worn down by this kind of time that we're in right now. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Councilwoman Clark?
Yeah, I'll start with, yes, the Trail Tunes was a magical, magical experience for my family, and I just can't express enough how important it is to make events like that accessible to every single resident in this city, because a large majority of our residents are low income. And I can't tell you how many times I've drove my kids past Arts, Beats, and Eats and been like, I'm really sorry, like, we just can't afford it. So it's really nice to be able to be out with our neighbors enjoying things like that. And I know that there are events, similar events like that, even small scale ones happening all over the city, where residents are taking part in it and having fun and getting out of their house and getting off the internet and just like being with each other and having a good time. Also, Corey, I'd like to throw Glampa into the mix. I think that, you know, it's a little bit newer age.
Yeah, that's it.
It allows you to kind of be yourself and do your own thing. And on the subject of social media, so it's no secret that I'm a huge fan of social media. I got on city council due in part to my activity on social media. It allowed me to reach and access more residents than I could if I were going door to door. And it's from what I've been told, I'm the only one here on city council to do that on my first try. So I can say that social media was probably that one thing that made it put me over the edge, because prior to being on city council, I don't think anybody in this town knew who I was. But since I've been on city council, a lot of people who are trying to deter me from making progress or being successful have created pages that are like in-depth, dedicated to threatening me or meaning me harm. I was sent a screenshot this week from a group called Madison Heights Soapbox, where a resident suggested that we place GPS tracking systems on my car. My 17-year-old daughter drives my car. I've had dismembered animals in my front yard. Now, I'm not a part of these groups, and I block so many people because I receive threats on a daily basis. But I know there are members of council, Mark Bliss, you're a part of this group, who have seen these threats and harassments and engagements and have said nothing, have not discouraged this sort of behavior. And so I will continue to block people that mean me harm and threaten me and harass me, because I am dedicated to my own privacy. But when it comes to the groups, these private groups, there are multiple admins on these groups. And when people get blocked from the groups, they're blocked because they broke community guidelines, and that's something that's out of my control. But I refuse to allow people to harass me and threaten me and other leaders in this community who have stepped down from board positions because they continue to be harassed, or council members who will put these members on board positions with the members that they harass intentionally to terrorize them. I don't scare that easily, and I am down for creating social media guidelines for government, and I would love to work with the MML personally to help do that, because I can see where it would be beneficial and where it would be bad. In my case, in terms of being able to block people from my personal page, is due to harassment and threatening and escalation of events. And it's scary. My family comes to meetings now to make sure that I get out of here and home safe. I don't know if any other member here on council experiences this, but I certainly do. And I imagine it's because I'm so progressive and I move really fast and I get a lot of work done. I introduce people to the right boards and commissions so that they can get work done. What I do on city council is try to make this city a better place. I've never threatened anyone. I've never called people names online. I don't harass people. Should the city government have a social media policy? Absolutely, when the state government is able to define exactly what that is. Should city council, this city council government, do it because a couple people are, I can't even express that thought, so I'm just gonna end it there. I am entitled to my own privacy and safety. And I will continue to act on my behalf when it comes to my personal page and the private pages that I govern. That's going to be what that is. That is always going to be in place. And it sucks when you lose access to a third of the city who is on social media. I know that. But when you're harassing people and breaking community guidelines, that's just how it works. I encourage everyone here today, especially our city council candidates, welcome to all of you here today. Get familiar with all of these groups online, with any group associated with Madison Heights. Get familiar with the people in these groups and who they affiliate themselves with, how they carry themselves, how they talk, the information they share, and try to get a feel for the people out there who mean harm and people who mean well. That's all I have for tonight.
Thank you, Councilwoman Clark. Mayor Pro Tem Soltis?
Yeah, well, it's kind of tough to follow that, and so I'm sorry that this happened.
Thank you, Dave.
What's a glampaw? What is that?
Glamorous grandpa.
A glamorous? Corey, you're glamorous now? No.
Yeah, that's you.
I didn't picture that. Maybe with the beard when you had it, but so following up to being last, but yeah, great job, everyone. The Trail Tunes was awesome time. I went, of course, and a lot of bands, a lot of the old school type music was being played, so I really appreciated that. That brought back some memories. And so yeah, I really like the positive vibe in the city. We got to keep that moving, keep it going. However, as a city, we're improving all the parks and recs and what we did tonight. But I was looking at some of the basketball courts, and I played basketball. I was a coach before COVID, the youth coach here at Parks and Rec, and so I played with my son in each of the courts. I just, if we could do something about maybe improving them, at the Trail Tunes, I was watching the guys playing out there. They're double rims. The backboard is kind of bouncing around. And then in the actual court itself, if we could find some way to improve that. There are cities I played on. It's in Shelby Township to Detroit and St. Clair Shores. They got what a court. It's I don't even know what kind of material it is, but it's not wood, of course, but it's outdoor, and it's soft, and it's easy to, you don't slide on it, and the backboards don't bounce around. So I don't know. I'd just like to see some improvement if we can. I know the money is tight, but maybe some grants or what have you. And so I think that's about it. If you do have issues with the social media, you can always contact us too, and we'll try to help out. We try to advocate for our constituents, obviously, and we don't like to see anyone get bullied, especially. That's not right. That shouldn't happen. No one should be afraid to go home and have be escorted. So we really have to look into that and maybe work with the police department to figure out something too. So that's all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Soltis. I just want to start with Councilwoman Clark. I hope that you reported that to the police, because I believe that would be trespassing. I know that at some point someone sent me something about people leaving rats at my house, and my comment to that was they would be charged with trespassing. So I hope that you did report that. I don't know how all that legality works, but that I believe would be the appropriate place, and it's absolutely unacceptable and not okay. But on to lighter comments. I'm going to go to Trail Tunes because it really was fun. It was really quite enjoyable. It was hot at the start, and my comment at the start was last year we all said this was great, but it needed to be a bit warmer. So my comment this time was, okay, we need something in the middle, but it did cool down, and it was really, it was a lot of fun. People were spread out all over, and I saw people at the start, and then I didn't see them until a few hours later, and I said, did you leave? And they said, no, I was wherever. So people were just spread out all over. We were spread out all over. So it was great. It was a lot of fun, a lot of laughter, a lot of, just a lot of joy there. And the music in the background was really nice too. So thank you, Mr. Bliss and the Arts Board, Vita, everyone who participated, and all the volunteers and all of our sponsors who stepped up to help and make that a really great afternoon. Councilor Rohrbach mentioned Monroe Park, and I was at something a couple weeks ago with, I was talking to some different lawyers, and one of them said to me, they're like, oh, Madison Heights, you have that park I go to all the time. And I'm like, that park? And it was Monroe Park. And I was like, well, no one ever talks about Monroe Park. You're not from here. Why are you talking about Monroe Park? And she said that she has clients who are in Detroit, and she has clients who are in Warren. And she said it's the perfect location. She's like, and it's right by the freeway. And you've got those new houses there now. So it was one of those things when people talk about Madison Heights, I don't think anyone has ever said to me, you know, Monroe Park. So yeah, people hear a lot of different things about us, and it's always nice when it's a good thing. And her husband said they have that porta potty. So I think, Mr. Bliss, that was your responsibility on that one. But yeah, so it's always good to, it's always nice to get good feedback from other people. Congratulations to Mr. Almus on becoming a grandpa. And I do hope that council will reconsider about having some kind of a code of conduct, whether or not we release the legal opinion, as Councilwoman Clark was alluding to. It is something that council would need to vote on. I read the legal opinion, and based on that, I firmly believe that it is our duty to set up a code of conduct. So I've put it out there, and if anybody else agrees with me, perhaps it's something that can be put on the agenda for next meeting. Our next meeting will be August 23rd. The time is now 8:36, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Good night.
Eventually, congratulations.
I'm sorry I opened up that can of worms, man. I was just trying.
I'm